Thank you so much, Kim. Looks like we are streaming live on Facebook. It's a little bit after 7, so I want to apologize if you were looking for us at 7 o'clock. We had some technical difficulties, but I think those have all been mastered now. These town halls, we do a lot of activities, talking to folks in the community, but we make sure that we do a Facebook Live town hall at least once a month so that if you're looking for answers and you want to reach out and share your concerns, we are here to listen. I love to hear from people in our community, what's important to them, what's important to their families. And I'm happy to ask any questions that anyone has about where I stand on an issue, what this campaign is all about, and what we are fighting for. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to introduce myself. My name is Lee Miller. I am a native Georgian. I was born and raised here. My dad was a truck driver and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. Now I am a mom. I have 3 young girls. I'm married to my wonderful husband, Eric. I am an attorney and a small business owner. I attended the University of Georgia with the help of the Hope Scholarship. And I attended law school in Atlanta at Emory. And when my husband and I started our family, we moved to Hall County because it is a wonderful place to raise a family. We love the people here. We love the sense of community. It's beautiful. We're right off the shores of Lake Lanier. And I am so proud to be our candidate for the state house here in Southern Hall County, which is District 30. Now, oh, a little bit of echo. Work on that for a second. Is that from my computer, you think? Any guesses?
I don't know. I don't think it was you.
Okay. All right. Well, that seems better. Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm sure we're not the first people to have Facebook Live technical difficulties. So, as a mom of young children, people always ask me, why are you running for office? And my story starts a few years ago after my first baby was born. And as all you parents know, when your first baby is born, they are the most wonderful, perfect thing in the whole wide world. And your heart opens up in ways that you did not know that it could. And when our baby turned 3, she was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, type 1 diabetes. My husband and I quickly saw just how devastatingly expensive her medicine, insulin, can be for families. What I learned is that there is no one in the state of Georgia fighting for our family and for other families that are struggling to afford absolutely life necessary prescription medications. And we are going to change those laws. And that is why I'm running for office. I'm also very concerned about the lack of female representation in our democracy and in our government. Women make up over 50% of the population and only about 25% of elected officials in this country. There are so many studies that show when you elect more women to the legislature of a state, the levels of education and healthcare drastically improve in that state. And that is what we are focused on, levels of education and healthcare here in the state of Georgia. This year is the 100-year anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which is the amendment that, you want to tell us, Kim, what the 19th Amendment did?
Something about women being able to vote finally, or I think that's it, right? No, it took us a while.
Right. So the 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote. Women fought for this right. It was not given to them. I don't want to use those words. They protested. They had signs. They were out in the streets. They mobilized. They used their Karen power to make change. And and Black women actually didn't get to vote until 1965 with the Voting Rights Act being passed. So this very recent history that all women have been able to vote in this country. And we've made a lot of progress, but we have a long way to go. Another reason that I decided to run for office this year is because last year I went down to the Gold Dome in Atlanta and I asked my representative who represents me, my family, my little girls, to vote for the Equal Rights Amendment. The Equal Rights Amendment is simply something we could add to the Constitution that says men and women should be treated equally under the law. Now, I don't know you if you're watching right now, but I know my friends and family and people in my community And everyone agrees with this statement. Of course, men and women should be treated equally under the law. Our representative said, no, I'm sorry, I can't vote for that. And my brain exploded and steam came out of my ears like a cartoon character, because I never met anyone who's actually against the Equal Rights Amendment. I believe that my opponent is out of step with not only my values, but the values of my neighbors and everyone in this community by saying something like that. So we have a lot of work to do. So what does happen at that Gold Dome in Atlanta? What do our representatives do down there? I just wanted to quickly highlight a few votes that my opponent has made over the last few years that have affected us, if not daily, weekly, and that are bad for Georgia. One involves gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is, I feel like I'm talking too much, so I'm going to throw this to Kim and I'm going to let her give her best explanation of gerrymandering.
Oh, no. Gerrymandering is when politicians, and Lee, tell me if I'm saying it correctly, politicians adjust, that's probably not the right word. Their, my dog's crying. I want to say border, but that's not the right word. But the vote, okay, so they adjust those according to what their needs are. So whether it's whatever party, they tend to do it to get what they need politically done. So they adjust the lines of their districts.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Gerrymandering is when people draw the lines of districts for partisan issues or for personal benefit and not for the benefit of the people that live in the community. Our district has been gerrymandered. The lines for District 30 here in South Hall kind of look like this, except at the end, there's like a blip. And that's where my opponent lives because he moved his house and he wanted the lines to include his house. So he just drew them around for himself. And I do not believe that gerrymandering should be legal. I do not believe that political parties in charge of the state should be able to draw those lines, be them Republicans or Democrats. Both sides have done it and both sides are wrong for doing it. We need nonpartisan commissions to draw these lines. These lines get drawn next year, 2021. That is why this election, or that is one of the many reasons why this election is so important. We have to get people into office who are willing to give up power, right? By giving the power to nonpartisan commissions, we are giving it up. So I think that is very necessary. Lines need to be drawn to help all Georgians and not for political reasons or personal benefit. Another vote that I want to highlight was just this year. I'm sure everyone is aware of the important and powerful Black Lives Matter movement that swept the world this year. Georgia passed a hate crimes bill, which was extremely necessary. We were one of only 6 states in the country that had not passed a hate crimes bill. Almost all of the elected officials from Hall County voted for the hate crimes bill. Republicans, Democrats, they all voted for it, except for my opponent. He did not vote for the hate crimes bill. He is not only out of step with me and my family and my neighbors, but with the other, even Republicans in this county. It is just disgusting. I'm very disappointed by this vote. And then also this year, we are in this global pandemic of COVID-19, and the state passed a budget. This is one of the most important jobs that our legislatures do is pass the state budget. And my opponent voted for this budget that stripped almost $1 billion with a B, dollars from K through 12 education. $1 billion from our public schools taken away in the middle of a pandemic when we are asking more from our schools than ever, be it through virtual learning or in-person learning with extreme safety protocols. There were $20 million of that was earmarked for Hall County that we are not going to get. That's $20 million straight from our kids and our teachers. And then maybe the most amoral vote of my opponent was back in 2014 when he voted against something called Medicaid expansion. Now, Medicaid expansion, it's not attractive, right? No one wants to talk about health insurance or Medicaid, get into the weeds of it, but I will tell you this. We pay federal taxes. You all know that. You all pay them. We pay federal taxes. We send money to the federal government. The federal government said, hey, we're working on making sure all Americans have health insurance. And how we're going to do that is we're going to provide Medicaid health insurance to people that make up to a certain income. And our state said, no, 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 no. We don't want health insurance. You keep those federal dollars that we sent you with our tax money and do not send them back to Georgia. That's what Medicaid expansion is. Other states have expanded Medicaid. Most other states have expanded Medicaid. I believe 38 of them. And the federal government has sent them money that has gone into their healthcare system. And we have just been paying taxes without getting that benefit. We have had 7 rural hospitals close since that time as a direct effect of that not expanding Medicaid. So let me just read you the numbers because they are shocking. If we expand Medicaid, which we could do like that if our elected officials choose to, if we expand Medicaid, we could get 500,000 Georgians health insurance that do not have it right now. It would bring 56,000 jobs to the state. It would bring a 6.5 billion with a B boost to our economy and 3 billion actual dollars. $3 billion into our healthcare system. There are a lot of stories about Medicaid expansion. One of the stories is that we can't afford to expand it. Again, we would get $3 billion to expand Medicaid. We can't afford not to expand it. People are dying. People are sick. We are in the middle of a global pandemic. It makes no sense not to expand the number of people that can get health insurance.
Lee, can I ask a question just on that? Why are they not willing to take the funds? Is there a reason behind it? Because maybe people don't know that.
Okay, yeah, I would love to talk about that. I can't put words into other people's mouths, but our elected officials chose not to expand Medicaid. It is a part of the Affordable Care Act. I know that they do not like the Affordable Care Act. Not expanding Medicaid doesn't stop the Affordable Care Act. It's still there and other states are still taking advantage of it. So to me, it makes no sense. This year, our governor proposed something that's called a waiver, which was like his version of Medicaid expansion. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but his version of Medicaid expansion would cover about maybe 50,000 Georgians, and it would cost the same for our state to implement, as opposed to covering 500,000 people just to make a point that he doesn't happen to like the Affordable Care Act. Mm. So the reasons don't make any sense. When you hear the dollars, when you hear the numbers, no financially conservative, no financially intelligent person would think that that is the right decision. So honestly, I don't know why we haven't expanded Medicaid other than we're stubborn.
Apparently.
Oh, sorry. I get very passionate about this. You know, healthcare, it's people's lives. It's not a game and it's not a political game. And I don't like it when it's treated that way. So that's a summary of why I'm running, some of the votes that have happened at the Gold Dome that are important to my family, and I hope are important to yours too. Over the last few weeks, over the last few months, we've really been reaching out to our community, asking them what issues are important to them, and asking for your vote. Please vote on November 3rd. Please vote for me, Lee Miller, on November 3rd. We post a lot of information on our Facebook page about how to vote. I highly recommend voting by absentee ballot this year. Absentee ballot will help in the sense that you won't have to go to the polls, which can be a little tricky if you're worried about COVID and issues like that. So just go ahead and get your absentee ballot and send it in. And you can already request an absentee ballot from the Hall County Elections Office. And we'll post below this all of our links to the websites where you can do that. There's a couple different ways to request an absentee ballot. You have to get online, get the form, you can email it in, you can mail it in, you can hand deliver it, but you have to ask for an absentee ballot for the November 3rd election. So we'll be talking about that a lot more on our social medias and websites in the upcoming weeks. But like I said, we've been reaching out to folks and we've gotten a lot of questions lately. And Kim is going to be my beautiful, intelligent moderator.
We're going to try. We actually just got a comment from David on the Facebook, and in terms of the Medicaid expansion, and his thought is that it's due to the for-profit health systems that currently, are going around in the U.S. So I just wanted to put that out there, that that's David's thought on that, is the privatization of the medical system.
Yeah, that's a very good point, David. Having our healthcare system being a completely for-profit system is problematic, because when you're looking at it from a purely profit margin perspective, insuring someone with cancer doesn't make sense, and paying for their chemo doesn't make sense. But we have decided that is important to us morally, and we will find a way to get it done. That's part of what the Affordable Care Act did. We took away the pre-existing condition limitation on health insurance. And the reason it was there is because it's a for-profit model. If you're a health insurance company, you don't want to insure someone who has type 1 diabetes, but now you have to. And that is why that law is so important and why we have to protect it. Thanks for that question, David.
Great. Okay, so a couple of the questions that we've got over the past little time is a big one that, of course, is in the news today. Has to do with police reform. And Lee, how do you feel? What are your thoughts on police reform?
Well, thank you for that question. And I really like the way that you said that, police reform. In light of the Black Lives Matter movement, there has been a lot of talk about our police systems and our criminal justice systems and how those work. And we've shined lights on lots of problems in those areas. And I think that our police officers work so hard and are such vital members of our community. When you think of who are the essential workers, you say policemen, firemen, teachers, nurses, right? They're essential. And we have really done police officers a disservice over the last 20 years. We have put so much more on them and on their departments than is necessary. We have wonderful social workers and other outreach teams that could be helping with criminals with mental health issues. There is no reason that if someone is struggling with their mental health issue and ends up homeless on the sidewalk, that the police should have to deal with that person, right? That is more for social services. So I really think that it's important that we look at the way these systems are set up and find solutions for them. The police officers need more support, and we need to make sure that support is there for them and it makes sense for the community that you're in and what's happening in that community. There is a legislative package called Justice for All that some people in the Democratic caucus have put forward, and I support most of the measures in the Justice for All package. If you're interested in that, we can provide you with more information and details about that legislation. But I do think there is progress to be made in this area, and I hope that we can make it without bad-mouthing our neighbors and without, this is not a Blue Lives Matter versus Black Lives Matter conversation. This is about how to make our whole community better.
Definitely. I like how you said that. And then another question, which is on a lot of people's mind, is education and the cost of education, college, K through 12. What are your thoughts on that, Lee?
The cost of education. So I'll start with my personal experience. I could not have gone to college without the Hope Scholarship. I am so thankful for it. I think it is an essential part of how we do education here in Georgia. There have been some cuts to it recently. I do not support those. I think we need to continue to invest. The Hope Scholarship is, of course, run by lottery funds. We need to continue and invest in that. I've already spoken about investing in K through 12. I think our public schools should be fully funded. That is essential going forward here in Georgia. They have only been fully funded twice in the last 20 years. We have been running on an austere budget here in Georgia for no reason. Fully funding our public schools basically means that, we decided actually in the 80s, the legislature created a formula called the QBE and said, okay, if you have this many school kids in this school system, multiply that by how many bus drivers you need, how many this you need, and we need this much money to run this school. And that's how they get the formula. It's pretty basic. It even could be updated. So they were saying this is the minimum to fund this school. And our legislature has run that formula and decided for the last 20 years, nah, they don't need that much. We'll just give them less. We'll just give them less. So they have not fully funded our public schools. We have seen the effects of this in lacking of teacher pay raises and not having the resources that we need at schools. This affects transportation. This affects the food we have. This affects every level of our schools. So I'm very passionate about fully funding K through 12, making sure that all Georgians have access to the education that they need, be it K through 12, be it technical school, or be it college.
Great, thank you, thank you. And in regards to, well, still on the topic of education, some frustrations about some special education struggles that some of our community members are having. So you want to touch on that for a second?
I do want to touch on that. And I think that what Kim is referring to is something that I've heard from a number of people here in Hall County, is that children with special needs have something called an IEP in school, which addresses their needs and then provides the way that the school will address those needs and gives them the resources they need. I have a child with an IEP. I understand how important it is for her to function at school. And luckily, our school has been wonderful. And with our IEP, we have been given the resources that we need to allow her to adjust to the school learning environment and to do the best that she can do. In the springtime, when COVID hit and we were sent home from school, it was really hard on kids that had IEPs because they weren't able to get those resources. And I think we're seeing that again this fall. As I said before, I'm very passionate about every Georgian, be you special needs or IEPs or whatever the situation, have access to the education that they deserve. We have done some research. I have a few friends that are attorneys that work in this area of law. There are a lot of things you can do as a parent. There are a lot of parental rights that you have to enforce your IEP or to get the resources that you need. And we will post them below this video on Facebook and in other places as a resource. Make sure you know your parental rights, make sure you enforce them. Don't be afraid to be the squeaky wheel. You know, as a parent, you know that you have to be the mama or the papa bear in the situation and make sure that they get everything they need. And the school is by law required to do a lot of it. So make sure they follow those laws.
And that sort of dovetails into another question we had regarding vouchers and the state's use of vouchers, if that's going to apply. Do you want to touch on that? Can you add a little bit to that?
Yes, and that comes out of, you know, a voice of people that want choice when it comes to schools. Mm-hmm. What I think is really great here in Hall County is that our public school system is set up so that we do have choice. Many of you know that we have options to send our children. Even in elementary school, we can choose the language school, we can choose the arts school, we can choose the math and science school. Is it perfect? No, sometimes there's a waiting list and it's hard to get your child in the place you want them, but it's really great that we even have these options. So I think Hall County has done a great job about taking a public school system and giving you choice within that. As I said earlier, we cut almost $1 billion from our education budget this year. They have taken money away from the school system, and it is not good, especially not this year in the time of a pandemic. So I do not support taking any more money out of our public school budgets.
And that's billion with a B, not million with an M, a B. That's crazy. Okay, and another question we had recently has to do with medical marijuana, which a lot of people see as important and or not, and then dovetailing into legalization of marijuana, and what will that look like?
Kim, you just have all the easy questions tonight.
I like it.
This is a very serious issue, and I don't mean to make light of it. I actually didn't know much about this until a few years ago when I went to a forum and I heard a friend of mine speak about her medical marijuana situation. She had a young daughter who, when she was about 1.5, started having violent seizures. And these seizures, I mean, they were happening every minute. Can you imagine your small child just having seizures and not being able to do anything? And they, of course, put her on medication. And some of the medications stopped the seizures, but it really affected her brain and the way she functioned. And they told her, she will never be above like a 4 or 5-year-old. This will be her brain level for her life, because of the seizures and of the medication. And so, of course, it was really hard on the family. And the mom tried different medications. And what they found was when they took the child off of the drugs that she was on and used medical marijuana, her seizures still stopped, but her brain functioning came back. She was able to function. Now she is a 13-year-old who is on grade level. She's thriving, and it's because they had access to medical marijuana. Medical marijuana is technically legal in Georgia, but at the same time, it's not legal. There's a lot of problems with access and how you get it, because you can get it in certain ways that are illegal. So I really feel for all the moms out there that are trying to help their children, that are trying to get this medicine for them and struggle because our laws aren't perfect, right? We really need to look at that, address that, make it smooth and streamlined so that they can get the medicine for their children. Again, life necessary medicine for their children. It seems very simple. The law should help that. So that's where I started to learn about medical marijuana. As far as the legalization of marijuana, I am not very educated on the topic. I'm a huge dork, so I don't know much about it. But to me, it's a dollar sign. I think it should be legal so that we can tax it. I think it should be legal so that our farmers can grow it and sell it and make money. Why would we keep our farmers from growing a crop that they can make money from? That's where I stand on that.
Awesome. Okay, so here's another easy one. I say that in jest. What are your views on abortion? Which is a hot topic.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. I hate that we have to bring it up. To be honest, it makes me angry. It makes me angry as a woman that I have to talk about this issue, especially in a political forum. But we do have to talk about it. It also makes me angry that when people ask me, they say, "Are you pro-life or pro-choice?" And what makes me mad about that is that it is not an either or question. It has nothing to do with either or. It is not a black and white situation. It is a multifaceted, extremely personal issue. I think that it should be a choice made by a mom, by a woman, by a young girl, if that's the situation, that she makes after talking to her partner, her family, her children, her minister, her preacher, her doctor, her nurse. Notice I never said her politician. I do not understand why her politician would be brought into that discussion. And it makes me extremely angry that that is the situation here in Georgia right now. It makes me extremely angry that we are not focused on the real issue, which is making sure that women have access to healthcare, that women have access to knowledge about how they get pregnant. Because I know how I get pregnant. But I'm telling you, a lot of 14, 13, 15-year-olds in our world do not. And you might think that is stupid, but they do not know. And even if they do know, they might not have access to contraception. They might not have access to the education about what could happen. Right? I met a 16-year-old girl that I had to interview when I was working, and she had just had a baby. And she was living at home with her parents, and her baby's father was in prison. And she said, "I just thought it would be fun to have a baby. I just thought it would be easy and fun, and it's not." And God bless her heart, she didn't have the education to know. So it just makes me so angry that we don't focus on education. Georgia has one of the worst maternal mortality rates in the world. It has put us at the level of a third world country. 79 counties in Georgia do not have an OBGYN. Can Can you imagine being a teenage girl in a county without an OBGYN? You might not have a car. How are you going to get care? You can't drive 3 counties away to get care. You probably don't have time. You probably don't have the means. It is just sickening to me that we don't focus on the real issue. The real issue is that in Georgia, until last year, our levels of abortion were declining. We were doing better at providing an education to women and children about this issue. And passing the law that we passed last year, which bans abortion at 6 weeks, is not going to make our numbers continue to decline. There is no evidence that it will. Outlawing abortion does not make the rates go lower. In fact, outlawing abortions will make people have illegal abortions without protections. Back in the back alleys of the 1960s, we have just sentenced women to more death. And again, I'm appalled that we have to talk about this. I do not want to talk about it. But I do want to talk about healthcare and how we need to focus on it in the state of Georgia and make it better for all of us.
Couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. And another one that came up is the Second Amendment. And your thoughts on that? In terms, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No. Just in terms of what you think should be done. Background checks. I mean, what can we do to make it safer and yet still allow for people to have the right that the Second Amendment guarantees them?
Well, that is a great question. And thank you for bringing it up. I do have a background in law. I'm an attorney. And of course, we studied the Second Amendment in law school. I understand what it says and what it means and what it means to the people here in Georgia. And we have good laws on the books in Georgia. One law that I'm particularly supportive of, that I have seen in action, and I think does its job for the most part, is a law that when certain complaints are filed against domestic abusers, which is typically men that are abusing their wives, that the police officers in the community come and take their firearms for safety reasons. And I think that law has been passed and implemented very well. I agree with 85% of Americans that we should have universal background checks on our firearms. I do not support the idea that outside interest groups should get to come into Georgia and put their agendas on us and make us pass laws that they want us to pass. I think that these laws should reflect the values of the people that live here, of our families and our communities. We do have a problem in Georgia. We are number 1 in the country for something very terrible, which is children accidentally dying by getting access to firearms inside the home. This is a pure safety situation. I believe that you have a right to own a gun. I believe that you have a right to have guns inside your home, but they should be properly stored to protect all of our kids. That's really all I have to say about the Second Amendment.
That's great. That's great. I don't have any more questions. It's a little, we started late and we had said we were just going to go till about 7:45. So even though we started late, I want to kind of keep to that. Is there anything, Lee, that of the questions we asked that you maybe want to throw something else in there? If not, then I think we'll finish for tonight and we'll look forward to next month. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought that was great. I think we covered a lot of things that are very important that I have heard from multiple different people, questions about these issues. And I just want to thank everyone for listening, for taking the time to present their questions. I am always here. I am an open book. Please email me or Facebook message us if you have any questions about the campaign and what we're fighting for. I do want to send a huge thank you to all of our supporters, especially our team. We have such a great team of volunteers running this campaign. Yeah, they're all like professional level volunteers. It's Kim is one of our wonderful volunteers. Everyone has just really stepped up because we know that November 3rd is important. We know that having representation from South Hall County that actually reflects the values of the families here is extremely important. And I would be honored to be our next representative from South Hall County.
Lee, we did get a question just last minute from David. It says, what do you think about the American Legislative Exchange Council?
I am unfamiliar. Maybe I've forgotten what that means in the moment, but I'm so sorry that I am unfamiliar with it. The American Legislative Exchange Council. I'm not sure
I
if
know
that.
either.
I don't know, but David, I would love to talk to you about it. So give me a call. The campaign number is 678-430-8081. And tell me about it and let me know what you think. And if I need to do some research or just have a discussion with you about it, I would love to hear.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Well, Lee, thank you for your time. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And we look forward to seeing you next month with a whole new set of questions.
Right.
Everyone have a great evening. Thanks for joining us. Bye.